Napoleon Bonaparte. The name echoes through history. He was a general, he was an emperor, he left his mark on the world. From revolution to war, his life was full of drama. His story is one of ambition, victory, and ultimately defeat. Napoleon's journey began on the island of Corsica. He rose to power through military brilliance. He crowned himself Emperor of France. His armies marched across Europe. He changed laws and societies, but his ambition eventually led to his downfall. Napoleon's story is a reminder that power is fleeting. It shows us the impact one person can have. His life continues to fascinate us centuries later. Join us as we delve into the rise and fall of Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon was born in 1769 on the island of Corsica. This island had recently become part of France. His family was not wealthy, but they were proud. They believed in Corsican independence. Napoleon was a smart and ambitious child. He excelled in mathematics and military history. He received a scholarship to study at a military academy in France. At school, Napoleon experienced prejudice for his Corsican heritage and thick accent. He was often teased by his classmates. This fueled his determination to prove himself. He buried himself in his studies and military exercises. Napoleon graduated from military school in 1785. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the French army. He was just 16 years old, ready to begin his extraordinary journey. The rise to power was marked by a series of calculated moves that showcased his brilliance and ambition. He restored order to France and implemented important reforms. These reforms were not just superficial changes, they were deep and transformative, touching every aspect of French society. From the economy to the military, Napoleon's influence was felt everywhere. These included a new legal code and a centralized education system. The Napoleonic Code, as it came to be known, was a comprehensive set of laws that laid the foundation for modern legal systems in many countries. His education reforms aimed to create a meritocratic society where talent and hard work were rewarded. In 1804, Napoleon decided to crown himself Emperor of France. This was a bold move that signaled his intention to establish a new dynasty and solidify his control over the nation. He held a grand ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The event was meticulously planned to showcase his power and the legitimacy of his rule. Dignitaries from across Europe attended, witnessing the dawn of a new era. He took the crown from the Pope's hands and placed it on his own head. This act was highly symbolic, representing his belief that his authority came directly from the people and not from any religious institution. This symbolized that his power came from the people, not the church. It was a clear message to both his supporters and his enemies that he was the master of his own destiny. Napoleon now ruled over a vast empire. His territories stretched from the Iberian Peninsula in the west to the Russian steppes in the east. His influence was felt far and wide. He controlled most of Europe. Through a combination of military prowess and diplomatic skill, he managed to bring numerous countries under his control, either directly or through alliances. He had defeated Austria, Prussia, and Russia in a series of wars. These victories were not just military triumphs, they were also strategic masterstrokes that reshaped the political landscape of Europe. He installed his relatives on the thrones of conquered nations. Napoleon's ambition seemed limitless. By placing his family members in positions of power, he aimed to create a network of loyal rulers who would help him maintain control over his vast empire. But his empire was built on shaky foundations. Despite his many successes, there were underlying issues that threatened the stability of his rule. Economic troubles, social unrest, and the constant threat of rebellion loomed large. His enemies were waiting for their chance to strike back. The coalitions of European powers who had been defeated and humiliated were biding their time, ready to challenge Napoleon's dominance at the first opportunity. The stage was set for a dramatic and tumultuous period in European history. Napoleon's military campaigns are legendary. He was a master of strategy and logistics. He revolutionized warfare with his use of artillery and mobile infantry. He won victory after victory. One of his most famous victories was the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. He outmaneuvered a larger Austro-Russian army. This cemented his reputation as a military genius. However, Napoleon's luck began to change. In 1812, he made a fateful decision. He invaded Russia with a massive army. The Russians refused to fight a direct battle. They retreated deeper into Russia, burning everything in their wake. The French army was decimated by the harsh Russian winter and lack of supplies. Napoleon was forced to retreat. This was the beginning of the end for his empire. After the disastrous campaign in Russia, where the harsh winter and fierce resistance decimated his grand army, Napoleon's enemies sensed a rare opportunity. They saw his vulnerability and united against him, forming a formidable coalition. Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia, once wary of each other, now found common cause. They formed a new coalition determined to end Napoleon's dominance over Europe. This coalition confronted Napoleon at the Battle of Leipzig in October 1813. Known as the Battle of Nations, it was one of the largest and bloodiest battles of the Napoleonic Wars. The coalition forces, outnumbering Napoleon's troops, managed to decisively defeat him. Following this crushing defeat, Napoleon's grip on power weakened. By April 1814, he was forced to abdicate the throne. The once invincible Emperor of the French had to step down, signing his abdication at the Palace of Fontainebleau. As part of the terms of his abdication, Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba, a small island off the coast of Italy. Though it was a significant fall from grace, he was allowed to retain the title of emperor and rule over the island. However, Napoleon's ambition and determination were far from extinguished. Even in exile, he began to plot his return. The island of Elba was too small to contain his grand aspirations. In February 1815, less than a year after his exile, Napoleon made a daring escape from Elba. He sailed back to France with a small contingent of loyal followers, determined to reclaim his empire. Upon his return to France, Napoleon's charisma and leadership quickly rallied his supporters. As he marched towards Paris, soldiers and citizens alike flocked to his side, rejuvenating his once diminished army. Napoleon's return to power, known as the 100 Days, was a brief but dramatic period. He once again took control of France, reinstating himself as emperor. However, his resurgence was met with swift opposition. The coalition forces quickly mobilized to confront him. The decisive clash came at the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815. In a fierce and chaotic battle, Napoleon's forces were ultimately defeated. The defeat at Waterloo was orchestrated by a British army led by the Duke of Wellington and a Prussian army commanded by Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher. Their combined efforts ensured that Napoleon's return to power was short-lived. This time, the Allies decided to ensure that Napoleon could never return. He was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, far from Europe and any potential supporters. On St. Helena, Napoleon lived out the remainder of his days under constant surveillance. He died there in May 1821 at the age of 51, marking the end of an era that had reshaped Europe.